You know that feeling right after you win. Everyone is looking at you. You just gave a brilliant presentation, or you walked into the room wearing the perfect outfit, or you dropped a punchline that had the entire table laughing. You look like the most confident person in the room. You look untouchable. But then you go to the bathroom. You close the stall door, the lock clicks, and you lean your head against the cold plastic. Suddenly, your chest feels heavy. Your heart is racing, not from excitement, but from a strange, creeping panic. You look in the mirror, wash your hands, and stare at your own eyes. And for a split second, a terrifying thought crosses your mind. If they really knew who was standing here, they would leave. Why is it that the moments of our greatest external triumphs are so often accompanied by our deepest internal dread? The paradox. We live in a culture that tells us to fake it till you make it. We treat confidence like a jacket we can just throw on to keep out the cold. But what if that jacket isn't keeping you warm? What if it's actually a straitjacket, pinning your arms to the sides so no one can see how badly you are shaking? There is a profound difference between the confidence that grows from self-acceptance and the confidence that is manufactured to hide self-loathing. One is an anchor, the other is an eviction notice to your true self. We have been taught to fear failure, but there is something we fear far more than failing. It's a quiet, heavy word that we rarely say out loud. Shame, not guilt. Guilt is feeling like you did something bad. Shame is the suffocating conviction that you are bad. It is the belief that at your core, you are fundamentally flawed, unlovable, and broken. And when you carry that belief around every single day, you only have two choices. You can either let it crush you, or you can build a monument of false confidence right on top of it. But monuments are heavy, and eventually, the ground underneath begins to crack. Before this video ends, we are going to look directly at what is hiding beneath your armor. We are going to unpack the exact psychological mechanism that keeps you trapped in a cycle of performance, and more importantly, how you can finally step off the stage. But first, we have to look at the blueprint of how your armor was built in the first place. To understand why we do this, we have to understand how the brain survives pain. Psychology shows us that the human psyche is incredibly creative when it comes to self-preservation. When you are exposed to emotional wounding early in life, your nervous system registers that rejection as a literal threat to your survival. To cope, your mind deploys three distinct psychological defense mechanisms. Reaction formation. This occurs when a person seeks to hide asocial or unacceptable desires by adopting opposite types of behavior. In plain terms, when your subconscious feels intensely small, inadequate, and ashamed, it compensates by forcing your conscious mind to act incredibly big, superior, and invulnerable. The arrogance is not the opposite of the shame, it is the direct result of it. The persona, Jungian psychology, wrote extensively about the persona, the social mask we wear to navigate society and hide our true nature. When shame drives the persona, the mask becomes highly polished. It's the achiever, the expert, the rebel, or the charmer. You don't just wear the mask, you become obsessed with making sure nobody sees the face underneath it. The polyvagal fight or flight blend. When you feel shame, your dorsal vagal nervous system wants to shut down and hide. But because you cannot afford to collapse in a competitive world, your sympathetic nervous system overrides it with a hyper-vigilant fight energy. This manifests as a sharp, intense, performative confidence. You are literally running on the adrenaline of your own fear. The overcompensation cycle. Here is the unexpected reframe. Your false confidence is not a character flaw. It is a brilliant, highly sophisticated survival strategy. Think about it. Your younger self realized that being vulnerable wasn't safe. Maybe you were mocked, maybe you were ignored, Or maybe you were only loved when you performed perfectly, so your mind made an executive decision. If they can't see the real me, they can't hurt the real me. You built a fortress. The only problem is, you forgot how to leave it. When you use false confidence to hide your shame, you enter into a tragic, unspoken contract with the world. You agree to sell your authenticity in exchange for psychological safety. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all. No other loss can occur so quietly. Any other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is sure to be noticed." You lose yourself in increments of applause. Every time you walk into a room and perform a version of yourself that you think people will admire, you are telling your inner self, you are not enough. See how they love this character. I have to keep being this character because the real you is unacceptable. The cost of the mask. This creates an agonizing internal split. There is the expected self, the brilliant, capable, confident avatar you present to the world, and the exiled self, the small, frightened child carrying the shame in the dark. The higher the expected self climbs, the further away the exiled self feels. This is why success doesn't cure your imposter syndrome. It actually worsens it. Because deep down, you know that the praise isn't for you. It's for the mask, and so the praise becomes a terrifying reminder of how deeply you are hiding. You become a prisoner of your own reputation. Let's step away from the theory and look at how this plays out in the cold light of your daily routine. Let's look at the patterns you might think are just personality quirks, but are actually the scaffolding of your defense system. See if you recognize yourself in any of these mirrors. You became someone who can never say, "I don't know." To admit a lack of knowledge feels like an admission of absolute worthlessness, so you deflect, you pivot, or you speak with an intense, unearned authority just to keep the perception of competence intact. You treat relationships like a job interview. You find it almost impossible to let people see you when you are tired, messy, or unkempt. You only allow yourself to be seen when you are on. You are hyper-generous, always the provider, always the strong one, because if you are the one being taken care of, you feel inherently weak and exposed. You experience a violent internal reaction to constructive criticism. Even the mildest feedback doesn't feel like a critique of your work, it feels like an existential threat to your identity. Your immediate response is either sharp intellectual defensiveness or a quiet, burning resentment. You're obsessed with status symbols, credentials, or aesthetic perfection. You don't just enjoy nice things, you need them. They are the external evidence you display to prove to the world and to yourself that you are not the broken thing you secretly believe you are. You use humor as a preemptive strike. You are incredibly witty, quick-tongued, and sarcastic. You mock your own flaws before anyone else can, but you do it with a sharp, performative edge. It's not humility, it's a controlled burn designed to keep people away from the real wounds. You experience a profound emptiness the moment you are alone. When the meetings end, when the notifications stop and the silence settles in, a deep anxiety creeps over you. You cannot rest. To rest means to sit with the self you have spent all day trying to outrun. A moment of truth. If you see yourself in these words, take a breath, drop your shoulders away from your ears. This is not a list of your failures. This is a map of how hard you have tried to protect yourself. You are not a bad person pretending to be good. You are a hurting person pretending to be whole. So, how do we heal a wound we have spent a lifetime dressing up as a trophy?
Transformation does not happen by building a better, stronger mask. It happens when you finally realize that the war you are fighting ended a long time ago. The people who made you feel small are either gone, or their opinions no longer hold the power of life and death over you. You are safe now. You are allowed to take the armor off. Here is the path back to integration. Step 1. Radical awareness. The next time you feel that surge of intense performative confidence, that urge to brag, to over-explain, to dominate a conversation, or to perfectly curate an appearance, stop. Notice the physical sensation in your body. Ask yourself a quiet, honest question. What am I trying to prevent them from seeing right now? What am I afraid would happen if I just stood here in my quiet reality? Give a name to the shame, and its power begins to dissolve. Step 2. Inner child integration. The shame you carry belongs to a younger version of you who was taught that their raw, authentic self was not enough. When that old feeling of worthlessness arises, do not send the confident avatar out to crush it. Sit with it. Imagine that younger self and offer them what they never received: unconditional validation. Tell them, you don't have to achieve anything today. You don't have to be brilliant. You are allowed to just exist. Step 3. Practicing micro-vulnerability. You do not need to walk outside and bare your entire soul to strangers. Start small. Practice saying, I don't know, in a meeting. Practice telling a trusted friend, I'm actually feeling really overwhelmed today. Allow yourself to be seen in your incompletion. What you will discover is nothing short of miraculous. People do not leave when you show them your flaws. In fact, they usually come closer. Step 4. Emotional regulation over behavioral modification. When the panic of exposure hits, your instinct will be to scramble back up into your intellectual, confident ego. Instead, breathe. Ground your feet on the floor. Let the discomfort wash over you without trying to fix it. Shame lives in the dark. When you let it breathe in the light of your own compassionate awareness, it evaporates. As the legendary psychologist Carl Rogers beautifully remarked, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. You do not need to perform your way into worthiness. You do not need to earn the right to occupy space on this planet. The confidence you have been chasing externally is already yours. It's the quiet, unshakable peace that comes when you finally stop fighting against yourself.
You can step off the stage now. The show is over. The audience you are trying so hard to impress is just as frightened and beautifully flawed as you are. You no longer need to be extraordinary just to be acceptable. Your strength isn't in your ability to wear a heavy, gilded suit of armor without collapsing. Your true power is your willingness to take it off, look the world in the eye and say, this is all I am, and it is more than enough. If you know someone who is currently exhausting themselves playing a character, someone who carries a heavy heart behind a brilliant smile, don't lecture them, don't expose them. Just send them this video. Let it be the quiet signal that they are allowed to stop performing. Let it be the reminder that they are seen, they are understood, and they are finally allowed to come home to themselves.